So we've been discussing about the second of the Satipatthana objects, that is Vedana. Yep. So Vedana is the mental experience of pleasantness, unpleasantness, or neutralness connected with the object. So, so it's a mental state. Okay? So it's nama, not rupa. Okay? So, mm, but it can, even though it's not rupa, but it can be associated with a bodily experience. That means experience that arise through the body door. Okay? So in which case we call it uh, bodily feeling. Okay? So in the last talk, we have discussed at length about bodily painful feeling. Okay? Mm. Now, of course, there can also be experience of uh, bodily comfort and bodily pleasure too. Mm. So, mm, so this also, this experience of bodily comfort or bodily pleasure, this is also a bodily feeling. Okay? So, for example, if you are meditating in, let's say, an air-conditioned room, okay? So there's this soft, cool breeze blowing. Okay, so this soft and cool breeze, what is it? The rupa, softness, coolness, their material nature, right? Why softness? It's the earth element. Okay? Coolness is the fire element. Okay? Yeah. But even as you are experiencing the softness and coolness in the mind, you experience comfort or pleasure connected with this softness and coolness. Okay? So this experience in the mind of comfort or pleasure, that is Vedana. uh, So it's a bodily feeling, Ayika Vedana. Okay, so if that time you know precisely and clearly, uh, then you be able to discern, realize the different nature that are present. Okay? So the softness is one nature, and coolness another nature. Then the experience of pleasantness, experience of comfort is another nature. Okay? Mm. So you're able to distinguish between the various mental and physical nature that are present in the experience. Okay? So your noting is clear, you may even be able to discern the cause and effect relationship clearly because of the coolness, softness, there is this experience of comfort. Okay? Mm. So if your noting is even clearer, you may even be able to discern all these different uh, mental physical nature arising and disappearing moment to moment. It is in the momentary nature. And from this, you may even be able to discern the nature of impermanent suffering and non-self. Okay? Mm. That is if you are noting carefully, noting precisely, noting clearly, continuously, moment to moment to moment. Okay? Then your noting, the clear knowledge will develop clearer and clearer. Okay? So you'll be able to discern more and more clearly the true nature of this mental physical phenomena. However, if your noting is careless, not precise, not clear, okay, half-hearted, then the experience will not be clear. Okay? All the different mental, physical nature will not be clear. Okay? So you'll not be able to distinguish them one from another. Yes, and all these different nature will be mixed together, okay? Lump up together. You'll not be able to differentiate between nature of softness and coolness. Mm. Then also between the rupa and nama. So you would think that all this softness and coolness uh, is the experience of pleasure, and the experience of pleasure is all this softness and coolness. Yeah, you're not able to distinguish them clearly. Okay? Then, so when your experience is not clear like this, uh, uh, then you may also carelessly take the whole experience and identify it with the self. Okay? So with the I am feeling full, okay? And I'm so happy. uh. So when you're experiencing in this way, attachment will arise towards this experience. This is so wonderful. May it always be like this. I want to live like this forever. Uh, mm. So, mm, so therefore, yogi must make effort to know precisely, clearly, mm, whenever such experience arise together with pleasant feeling. Now, there can of course also be feeling that is not connected not with the bodily experience. So, feelings that arise with the other sense doors other than the body door, eye door, ear, nose, tongue, and the mind door. Okay? So, for example, at the mind door, say for example, if thought of uh, past unpleasant experience arise. Okay? So if at that time, when this thought, this memory of the past unpleasant experience arise, if at that time you're not mindful, mm, mm, immediately the mind will get caught up with the memory, get entangled with it. Okay? Mm. So once the mind entangled with it, immediately the mind will experience unpleasantness. Okay? Unpleasantness arising from the memory. Okay? So this experience of unpleasantness, this is Vedana. Okay? This is Somanasa. Okay? Unpleasant uh, mental feeling. Sorry, not Somanasa, Domanasa. Mm. Mm. And so once the unpleasantness arise, uh, strong aversion will also follow. Okay? And then the mind will be sucked into the unpleasant experience. Okay? It's like the whole mind is drawn in. It's like your mind is reliving the unpleasant experience again. Okay? Mm. So, but if at that time the mindfulness is very quick, such that the moment the unpleasant memory arise, uh, you're able to note it immediately. Okay? Mm. So because you're able to note it immediately, so the mind becomes detached from that memory. So it remains untouched by it. Okay? Mm. So he is able to see clearly. The memory is just another passing mental state that arises in the moment. When you note it, it disappears immediately. Okay? So the mind becomes detached from it. It doesn't hold on to the memory as me or mine. It becomes detached from it, seeing it as if it's just like a strong wind that blows past. Mm, mm, So because the mind is able to note immediately and be detached from the memory, then it does not become entangled with it. So no unpleasant feeling arise due to the memory. Okay? So rather the mindfulness and clear comprehension that is present, noting the object, is able to hold the mind steady and simply view it with its equanimity, upekkha. Mm, mm. Then with this equanimity, there's neutral feeling arise towards the object. There is this memory. And so the mind remains steady, remains calm, remains quiet, undisturbed by the memory that arises. Now, this is provided you are able to note it as soon as it arises. Okay? Mm. Now, even if, let's say, your mindfulness is slow to arise, so the memory arises, but you are not able to note it immediately. So it arises, and the mind again get entangled with it. And unpleasant feeling arise due to it. But once unpleasant feeling arise, immediately you are able to note it. You notice the unpleasant feeling. Then you note immediately. Okay. Mm. So if you are able to note the unpleasant feeling immediately, uh, it will disappear. Okay. Then once it disappear, again, the eponymous mind arise with this neutral feeling. So again, the mind becomes steady, calm, and quiet. Mm. So this domanassa, or unpleasant mental feeling, arise not just with the experience at the mind door. So similarly, um, with the experience at the eye door, ear, nose, and tongue door. Okay. So whenever you experience any unpleasant object through these doors, at that time, if you're not mindful, again, you'll be immediately entangled with this unpleasant experience. And then aversion will immediately arise together with this unpleasant mental feeling. Mm. So, but if the mindfulness is fast enough and able to note the experience as soon as it arises, again, mind will become detached from the experience. Will be able to view the experience with equanimity. Neutral feeling will arise in the mind, will remain steady, calm, and quiet and clear. Okay? Mm. And again, if let's say at first you're not able to note it immediately, your mindfulness is slow. Okay? And so again, the mind gets entangled with aversion and pleasant feeling arises. But if you are able to note the unpleasant feeling that arise immediately, then that feeling will also disappear. Okay? And then again, equanimity arise with this neutral feeling. Okay? And again, the mind will become steady, calm, and quiet. Okay? Mm. Yeah. So this equanimity with neutral feeling and arise with each clear, mindful, and detached noting. Okay? Mm. So then the mind can become calm, steady, quiet, clear, able to discern clearly nature of the feeling that arise, the object that arise see clearly into the nature, impermanent suffering and non-self. Okay? Mm. Yeah, that's why the instruction given is when you see something, not seeing, seeing, when you hear, not hearing, hearing, and so on. Okay? So all this sense experience must be noted as soon as it arises, uh, so that they can give rise to this equanimity together with neutral feeling that keeps the mind steady, calm, quiet, and clear. Mm, mm. Now, of course, it's not only domanassa, but somanassa can also arise. Okay? A pleasant mental experience can also arise. For example, you recall a pleasant memory in your mind, or you hear a good news, and that's to the ear door, through your eye door. You see something beautiful through the nose door. You smell something fragrant, and so on. Okay, so at that time, mm, without noting it, you don't know it properly. Then this pleasant mental feeling, so manasa, can arise towards this object with attachment and delight. Okay? Mm. So, and this attachment and delight becomes a hindrance to the development of the practice. Okay? Mm. Yeah, so therefore, uh, so whenever such pleasant experience arise, it must be noted immediately or as soon as possible, so that the steady and equanimous mind may arise again with neutral feeling, okay, to discern the experience clearly. Mm. So, so with each kind of feeling that arise, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Mm. So, if you are able to note it clearly and precisely, then you will be able to discern its nature clearly as it is. Okay? It's just the mental nature of the experience of pleasantness or unpleasantness or neutralness. So you see clearly it's just a mental experience. Okay? And there's no I or a person behind the experience. There's nobody that feels this pleasantness or unpleasantness or neutralness. Mm. Mm. What is it that feels? There's just this mental nature that feels, experience the pleasantness and so on. Mm. Mm. So if you note clearly, then you'll be able to discern clearly this nature of Vedana. Mm. Yeah, nothing is clear enough, sharp enough, we can may even be able to discern the momentary nature of this Vedana, how they, um, due to their conditioned nature, they are arising and disappearing moment to moment. Mhm. Yes, and from this, you may even be able to discern the nature of impermanent suffering and non-self. With continuous development of the practice, so gradually, sooner or later, yeah, clear insight begin to arise in the practice. So, mm, so when the practice gradually develop, okay, so the yogi need to watch out for this pleasant feeling that may arise connected with the development of the practice. Okay, so for example, pleasant feeling that may arise with the development of samadhi, with the development of peacefulness, tranquility, joy, clear insight, and so on. Okay? Mm. So, So this pleasant mental feeling can arise with the development of insight. So especially and typically during the of insight, Udaya Bayanyana. Okay, so this insight into very clear insight into the rapid rise and fall, rising, disappearing of the mental physical nature. Mm. So, so at that time, yogi will experience mental physical nature very clearly, arising and disappearing rapidly, moment to moment to moment, very, very fast. Okay? Mm. So at that time, uh, yogi may begin to experience, uh, have some very exceptional experience, uh, such as the mind becoming very bright and luminous, and the mindfulness becomes very steady, very well established, uh, rapturous joy, very intense bliss, tranquility, and so on. Okay. Mm. So, so when the yogi experience this, very intense, pleasant experience can arise. Okay? And the yogi can become attached to this very intense, pleasant feeling, and also the pleasant feeling that arises together with all these other mental states. Mm. Mm. Yeah. So at that time, it is necessary for the yogi to note uh, this pleasant feeling that arises, note them very clearly, precisely, sharply, in order to discern clearly the nature of impermanent suffering and non-self. Okay? Mm. So, otherwise, uh, the yogi may think that this all this pleasant experience is nibbana, that they already experience, realize nibbana. Okay? So you think that this is nibbana, then you give up any further effort to develop the practice. You think your job is done already. Okay, then you give up this effort, then you'll be stuck there for a very long time. Okay? Mm. So at that time, the yogi need to make special effort to discern clearly, see clearly the conditioned nature of this feeling, this pleasant feeling that arises. See clearly that these two not permanent, they arise and disappear moment to moment. So they are impermanent, suffering and non-self. Okay? So you can discern this clearly, the nature of impermanent suffering, non-self, this pleasant feeling. Then only you know clearly this is not yet experience of nibbana. Then you will continue, persist on with your effort until you go past this stage uh, into further development of insight. Mm. Mm. And so not just pleasant mental feeling, unpleasant feeling can also arise, especially with the development of dukkha, insight into suffering. So, it's usually samasana jnana, the third insight, and also more prominently, uh, the, the series of insight after Bhanganyana, from the is Bayanyana, Adinavanyana, Nibidanyana, all the way up to Patisankanyana. So, in this series of insight, the insight into dukkha predominates. Okay, so during these stages of insight, the yogi experience very clearly the oppressive nature of the mental physical phenomena. So the process of suffering, conditioned suffering arising, disappearing moment to moment to moment. Okay? Mm. So So when this insight into dukkha is not yet mature, so sometimes the yogi uh, can lose the mindfulness and begin to react with dosa towards the dukkha that has been experienced. Okay, so when I react with dosa, then this domanassa, unpleasant mental feeling arise. Okay? Mm. Uh, So at that time, the yogi must step up effort, in order to strengthen the mindfulness, to observe the nature of the mental physical phenomena even more steadily. uh, So make effort to hold the mind steady with as much equanimity as possible, okay, in order to rise above the dukkha and continue noting. Okay? So the yogi must make effort, not energetically, not continuously, with precision, in order to mature this insight into dukkha. Mhm. So as the insight into dukkha mature, and very strong disenchantment, strong detachment sets in, as the equanimity becomes stronger and stronger. Mhm. So when this insight is developed sufficient enough, so there'll be enough detachment arising in the mind. Then the mind will come to a state called Sankarupika Jnana. Okay? So where it's able, mind becomes so clear that it's able to look on uh, this mental physical nature, look on upon them with equanimity. Okay? So at that time, then the mind is able to rise above uh, the dukkha. Okay? So the experience of dukkha is still there, because it's the nature of the nama rupa. Okay? And the mind is still very clearly discerning the nature of nama rupa. Okay? So the nature of dukkha is still there, but at that time, because of the maturity of insight, the strong detachment, and strong equanimity, mind is able to remain unaffected uh, by the dukkha. And so is able to view it with total equanimity. Mm, mm. So at that time, the feeling that tends to arise uh, towards this nama rupa will be this neutral feeling. Okay, so mm, so even though it's a very good stage of development of insight, the feeling that arises uh, not so manasa, but more of a neutral feeling. Mm, mm, mm. So yogis, you need to note this spiritual Vedana, this Vedana that arises through the development of your spiritual practice. Okay? Because if you do not note it, if these feelings are not noted, it can become a stumbling block to the practice. Okay? So due to the attachment or the aversion uh, arise due to not noting them. Okay? Mm. So if they are noted, then you may be able to realize the momentary nature, and see clearly into the nature of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. See clearly, that they are not worth clinging to. Okay? Mm. Yeah. So Vedanānupassanā, contemplation of feeling, is very important part of our practice. Okay? It brings stability and continuity to our practice. Okay? So as if we do not contemplate feeling as they arise, okay? So mind will be constantly thrown off course by the defilements. It's a pleasant feeling. You don't note the pleasant feeling, attachment arise, desire arise, delight arise, and the noting is thrown off course. Uh, Unpleasant feeling arise, you don't note it, aversion, dislike, yeah, and so on arise. Again, the noting is thrown off course. Okay? Neutral feeling arise, you don't note it, the mind may fall into, because of its peaceful nature, the mind may fall into delusion. Okay? And again, the noting is thrown off course. Okay? So you do not note feeling as and when they arise. So the practice will be disrupted again and again. Yeah? Our practice will not be stable or continuous. Okay? So therefore, Vedanānupassanā is important. To keep the practice of noting on course. uh, as long as you keep noting each Vedana that arises, then the noting mind will not be thrown off course due to the defilements that may arise. Mm, mm. Okay, we stop here today.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.